Black folk are not guests in America. You are not guests on this earth. You walk on sacred ground paid for by the blood, sweat, and tears and suffering and sacrificing of millions of black people. They paid for you to walk on this earth with your head high and to be proud. All the blacks who shine shoes and wash clothes and wash dishes and pick cotton, you all deserve to have a better condition on this earth. And dirty little secrets tell you why you're special people. And later on in my discourse this morning, I'm gonna point out the three things I'm gonna talk about. First is the state of black America presently. Second thing is how we got into our dilemma. The third thing to tell you that you are not only special people on this earth, but you've always had a special relationship with God that no other people have ever had. And all of that is embedded in the one thing that you keep running away from, and that is your blackness. Your blackness is power. The most powerful thing on this earth is your blackness. And you got to understand by the time I finish today what power and blackness there is. And unfortunately, we've never used it. We've been too much like the biblical scriptures in Matthew 26 that talks about 14 through 30 about the 10 talents and the 3 slaves. And we have tended to be like that third slave. When you had a master in the Bible that took and gave wealth and talents to 3 slaves, and he went off traveling in a distant land, and when he came back and asked for a report on what they'd done with the money, the talents that he'd given them, the first 2 told the master, here's what I got now. I've invested what you gave me. I invested the talents and the gifts that you gave me, and I have multiplied it. I've doubled what you gave me. The third one, when he asked him, what did you do with the money I gave you and the resources and talents and the gifts? He said, I didn't do anything with them. I buried it because I was scared to use what I had, the gifts and the talents that you've given me. That reminds me like of black folk that I don't want you to be like that anymore. To hide the talents and the gifts that you've been given. And the master said to the third slave, get away from me. And what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna take away all the talents and gifts that I've given you, and I'm gonna give them to everybody else except you. And then I'm gonna cast you into the darkness, into blackness. And so all I wanna hear from the future from you is suffering and crying and pain. And that's what has happened to us in many respects as black folk. We've given up the specialness that we have as black folk in our black power, the power of our blackness and our special relationship that we had with God. And consequently, we are in a dilemma. And contrary to what anybody on earth tells you, I don't care whether it comes out of a black mouth or a white mouth, anybody on this earth that tells you that black folk are progressing is lying to you. In proportional and comparative terms, black folk are exactly where they were in 1860 on the eve of the Civil War. You have not moved not one iota in 140 years. You were on the bottom in 1860, you're still on the bottom. You're still outside and underneath our system, our economic structure. I don't care whether they're boom periods or bust periods. I don't know whether they're good times or depression or recession, you're outside and underneath. Consequently, when whites catch colds, you're gonna catch pneumonia. You're not a part of the system. And right now, as I said, in 1860, as an example, at that time, you had approximately 287,000 black people that were free. That was in quasi-freedom. They weren't really free, they were quasi-free. They were not enslaved. The other 4.5 million blacks were still on plantations and in slavery. And those 287,000 black folk had successfully acquired one half of 1% of this nation's wealth in 1860 on the eve of the Civil War. I don't even picking cotton or having their own little businesses or waiting on tables. They had acquired 1/2 of 1% of this nation's wealth. And here we are, 140 years later, when you're supposedly free and have gone through a civil rights movement, you still only own and control 1/2 of 1% of this nation's wealth. You have not moved one iota in acquiring the most significant and the most important thing in our society. It is not civil rights. It is not integration that's going to give you equality and equal opportunity. It is what you own and control that makes a difference in your society. If you own and control nothing, you'll get nothing. There is no equal opportunity without having the equal amount of resources and power and wealth to be able to carry it out. And black folk at that time, as I said, had 1/2 of 1%. Also in 1860, as an example to show you have not progressed,